Good afternoon, guys. Today I'm going to build the fuselage for the 3D printed Taube. Now I've done an exploded view of the fuselage, and these three formers are the ones that we're going to fit the little tabs, the locking tabs to. So to make sure we've got the right ones, there's that one, that one, and this one. Now the reason I've done this is because I thought it best to set some sort of a format for these parts, so that if in the event that we have to replace any part, we know which way the hooks are and which section the hooks are fitted to as against the slots. So I've decided that it might be a good idea to always fit the hooks on the forward section. That way we know that the forward section will always lift up. This will be explained as we go along, if you didn't quite get that. I don't know if I did really, but anyway. Okay, so first of all, I'm just using the cheap Hobby King medium CA super glue, and I'm using the Hobby King Instaset accelerator. Okay, so we make sure first of all on each former there is a little lip. You can see the lip there. There's a little lip, and the little lip always, that's plain to see, yes you can see it there. The little lip always goes on the outside, and I decided to do this because in the past when I've made formers to fit inside the fuselage, I didn't have the lip, and they tend to slide too far in, or you don't get them far enough, and they twist, and they're very difficult to get. And as you know, with super glue you only have a certain amount of time to do this, so yeah. So I decided to put the lip on. This makes sure that when you push it in, it goes to the lip, and that's it. It gives a nice finish too. Okay, so first of all I'm going to fit these little tabs, glue them in place, making sure that they are pointing out towards the lip side. Now I'm always going to use, as you can see, they've got an angle on one side, so I'm always going to make that facing out. This way we make sure we do things in format, if you like. So each one of these will go inside there and be glued in. Glue them in fairly well because we don't want them coming out as we put the things together. I'm just going to put a little dab of glue on to start with, and then I'll glue around them. depending on your printer, will depend on whether these slots are tight or loose. These, on this particular print, tend to be a fraction loose. Although I did clear out all the slots with a knife. I used a knife and just cleared out the slots. You can use a little nail file to just clear out any edges that might be still left on there. So let's make sure we've got these right. This is that one. And so now I'm going to go around that with a little bit more glue. Okay, I'm going to glue these pieces in and then we'll come back. So, this is the receiving former, and what I'm going to do, I'm just going to try, make sure this is dry first before you start fiddling and trying these parts together, because I did one a while back and I tried the two parts together before the glue was totally dry, and unfortunately glued the two formers together. So make sure that they're dry before you fit them together. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to fit these two, I'm going to test to fit these two to make sure that they fit, and they do. They fit quite nice and tight. If they were too tight, you could run a file. You could actually run a file through there. If they're too loose, well, yes, I guess you could put a little bit of a build-up of a block or a little bit of old printed on the back there. But anyway, so it's a good idea to test, just to, you know, to give them a test and make sure that they're fitting together well, and that one does. This one we'll test. This is the one I actually just glued, so let's make sure it's not going to stick itself together. That's fine. Ooh, that's a very good, very tight fit. But it's good, it fits. And this one, again, and that's a nice tight fit too. So they're all fitting quite nice. So we'll go ahead and glue the forms into the relevant parts. Okay. So bearing in mind that this is the last section, so the former with the slots without the hooks goes into the rear section. Remember we said that we're going to put the formers with the hooks on the back of the front section. Okay. This. brake of the accelerator. Just make sure that that's firmly home and sitting flat. It's a good idea at this stage, before we go any further, just to make sure that your carbon fibre, whatever you're using, your carbon fibre tube, I'm using an arrow shaft. Arrow shaft is slightly smaller. Slightly smaller than the 6mm tube you would get from Hobby King. Now the 6mm tube you get from Hobby King is quite a tight fit. As you can see, that is quite, it's nice, but it's quite a tight fit. Whereas the arrow shaft, because it's, I think it's about 5.7 rather than 6mm, is slightly loose. I'm not sure which is best, but anyway, I've done it so that you can use either. I like the arrow shaft. It's quite strong, quite a bit stronger than the Hobby King stuff. Now, the thing to do is to just make sure before you fit these parts together that your carbon fibre tube will actually go right through, and as you can see, it won't go through this particular one. Just run a test through all the tubes, because you may have a build-up of plastic when you've printed, and especially on this one that's got a front. So I'm just using a 6mm drill bit, and I'm just going to run it through and just clear out any tubes that may be, now the tubes, both tubes. Okay, so we can carry on gluing these formers into their relevant fuselage parts. Okay, so now this one will actually go into there. This is the second part, and it's the front section. Again, we're facing, each time we come forward, it's the rear of the front section. And then just make sure that it's firmly home. Sitting nice and flat. The exploded view actually shows which section which former fits into, so it's quite easy. So now we have this one into there. What I might do is look at on this particular section, maybe running a tube through just to make it a little easier to feed through the rudder and aileron servo extension leads. It will feed through. I mean, I've got quite a big hole there and a hole there, so it will feed through, but it might be easier if it was a tube. We'll see. Okay. Sure once again that it's fully on, sitting nice and flat. Now we can try these two sections together, like that, and then push together, and then we slide in the tubes. And there's no way that can actually come apart. Except when we want it to, in the event of an accident, a crash, and we know that the front part always goes up to release, and there we go. Okay, so now the next section. Again, as we come forward, it's the rear of the forward section, and you put that on with the hooks, and the hooks again, and make sure that they're facing down. Now, when we get to this section here, this is where the undercarriage fits. You can see there's a couple of little nubbles on there which need to be cut off, and there is a reason for that, because it won't print properly without them. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run the knife across. Probably easier just to slip that former in. Run the knife across, and then I'm just going to clear out the hole with a 1/8 3mm drill bit. Okay, now we've cut off the little knobbles and run a drill through there. So now we can actually fit in the former. But before we do, there's a couple of recesses here. And these are for the, I generally use the little locking nuts with a little neoprene washer in the back. So I find the easiest way to do this, to pull these into the little recess, is to just use a bolt, and we'll clear that hole through again with a 1/8 drill. The easiest way is just to sort of slip the nut away, slip the nut on, and actually pull it into the recess. Rather than try and knock it in, and once it's entered in there, it will pull itself in there. And just to be safe, a little dab of glue, just making sure that you don't get any in the thread. Once it's entered into the little recess, it will hold itself. And I think from memory these are M4. M4, 4mm, I think. Maybe they're M3. Yes, maybe they're M3. Okay, now we've got these in there. I'll just put a little dab of glue on there, just around the edge. Just to make sure that when I put that in, it's not going to push it out. I'm just running the screw through just to make sure I've not put glue in the thread. Because once that's inside the fuselage, you unfortunately can't get to it. Okay, so now that can be glued into the fuselage. home. Sitting nice and flat. Okay, and now we move on to the last section, or the first section as it is. Now before we can actually fit this section in there, again you see there's a little recess there. We have to just cut that little recess out. And again, there is a reason for that. It won't print properly without I do it this way. But it's easy enough to cut out. Just run down the edge of the recess with a knife. And then you should be able to just simply snap that off, because it doesn't print that back edge that well. Okay. And it should fit this. Once again, it's a nice fit, and we'll just try this. That fits through there quite nice. So we can now glue that in place. Making sure that we hold that down there. It's very important that these formers are pushed right home against that little lip, so that they're nice and flat. Otherwise, when we try and fit these sections together, they're not going to fit together properly. And just run a bit of glue around little cutout section. Now this section has also got a little recess in there. It might have been better to do this before I actually glued it in there, but it's easy enough to get to this one. This is a little recess in there and a hole in the top, and this is the wing hold down. So again, I'm going to just run the drill down. Now I think this is a slightly bigger bolt. This one is a it's the next size up anyway. It's an M4, M5, whatever it is. So we may have to just drill that out a bit bigger. I think that's the way I did it, I think. Yes. So that the nut actually pushes in there. the nut is actually there, and I just press it in with the pliers like that. And that's ready for the wing hold down. Okay, now I guess we can try all these parts together. Now, quite a tight fit, and then slide in. We can cut these down later. So there we go.